Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast. Come explore the roadmap of our shifting consciousness where self-actualization, exposing your talents and gifts is the norm. Now here's your host, Angela Blaha.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining Renee and I here on the Blueprint Podcast. I don't know why I have trouble saying that. The Blueprint Podcast.
Print? Yeah.
All right, today we really want to talk about the infiltration of consciousness because I see it happening all over and it's getting worse and worse in my opinion. I believe that we are literally in a battle of consciousness right now, and it's not going to end, of course. I think that we're always in a battle of consciousness, maybe, but it seems to be very heightened right now. So in order for consciousness to grow and expand, there's a lot of people that need to sort of gather in that energy of elevating consciousness. And while that happens, there can be infiltrations of consciousness that try to hold it back or try to demolish it or ruin it. That's what happened in, Lemuria and Atlantis. There was an infiltration of consciousness each time that we've tried to elevate, and which ultimately has always caused the wipings. But we are holding steadfast in no wiping this time, and so we're trying really, really hard to sort of I don't know if control is the right word, or try to eliminate or alleviate these infiltration camps that sort of work against us. So if you're in the world of spirituality, which every single human being is, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, I am sure, right, that you have noticed so many teachers who have gone backwards or into some other very old practice or paradigm. And I'm just going to state that one teacher in the last several years who literally said that she was not teaching spirit, that she was teaching something else. And so, I'm sure we all know who that one teacher is, but she literally she literally infiltrated herself and told people that she was teaching something that wasn't, I don't even know how to explain it. What did she even say? She said that she wasn't teaching
the truth
or God or something.
Or God, or she just was like, it's not real. It's not what I've said. She just diminished the whole thing.
Yeah, she literally blew herself up.
Yeah.
That is definitely an infiltration. So I think that we really want to be in extreme levels of discernment as we progress and move forward. And the reason that we become infiltrated is literally to stop the enlightenment process, because it is the spirit that is leading this shift in consciousness, the soul self, the energy of who we are, our frequencies, our vibrations that are literally changing and shifting consciousness as we go here. So there needs to be a ton of discernment, in my opinion, and the real reason that we need to self-actualize is because we cannot understand what's really true if we are not self-actualized, if we are not in self-mastery. And self-mastery is the only way that you will know if you are being hijacked or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so accurate, Angela. And it takes work. Yeah. It takes vigilance. It takes constant communication with yourself and understanding where you're coming from and what just came out of my mouth. Is that actually mine? And is it actually accurate? Or is it an infiltration of some sort that I've picked up along the way? Mm-hmm. This is a time of laser focus and vigilance on who we are actualizing, ourselves, not another being.
Yeah, several weeks ago we talked about the power of consistency and commitment on the journey to self-actualization. I feel like that is going to become extremely important moving through the end of 2023 here. Just because I can see energies and I can see how things are ramping up, especially for the new birth of the new world, which we are already in the midst of. The birthing process has already begun. And I feel like it's just going to, these hijackings and these infiltrations into our own, what we believe is true and what we believe is not true, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And more fear will come into play.
I think there's that piece of it's like this battle of consciousness that we're in, staying aware, staying focused. At times I sense and see and hear myself and others like going back into an old paradigm and thinking, oh, maybe if I just do it like I used to do it, or maybe if I just fall back on my old pattern of how I healed or how I did something, maybe that's the piece. Maybe I'll get there that way. And that's another way of being infiltrated. We are moving into the new earth. It's not the same. No. We are not serving anyone or any higher purpose or mission when we go back to an old paradigm or an old way of doing things. So that's what I kind of am talking about when I say we need to be laser focused, vigilant on where am I at? And I'm not saying don't enjoy some of the things you've enjoyed in the past if you're doing it because it brings you joy, or fills you up in a way. But be very clear that it's not your way. This isn't how I'm doing it to get to where I need to go now in the new world.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look at my pretty rocks and stones because I enjoy them. I love them. But my life isn't dependent on carrying this particular stone in my pocket or my bra like I did at Angela's one time.
Yes.
Because I thought that was what was going to get me there. Now I know it's me. I'm the one that gets me there. I can still enjoy those things and find delight in them and in their energy, but being very clear who it is that is actually going to be the one that brings me to my fullness, to who I am.
Yeah.
Actualizing myself.
Yeah. Beautifully put. The things are the tools, right?
Yeah.
But you're the only one that's going to get you into well, what's real and what's true for you. You're also the only one that's going to know or be the one that gets infiltrated. Sorry, but you're the only one. So here's what I say. If you're a clear channel, like you are a very clear channel for your own higher consciousness, you know exactly when someone or something is trying to corrupt you. Like there is no doubt if you are on this path of self-actualization, being the self-master of your own self, of your own thoughts, your emotions, your intuition, all of the things, you will know exactly. I mean, you know that when something becomes corrupt in your energy field. Oh. Doubt is your worst enemy. I have to say that. Mm-hmm. And right now, there's a plethora of doubt in the world. You know, it's acting just like when separation came in. So many of you may have heard the story of when we were in Peru the very first time, and I was showing exactly how separation came in like a plague. Like it was very strategic. It stalked people. It watched people. It knew everyone's move. And when something was weak, when there was just a fragment of doubt, it would strike and it would corrupt and it would bring in separation. It literally like literally you became separate in that second. It wasn't even a second, it was less than a second. But it literally corrupted your own intuitive wisdom. And this doubt is the way in. It is the infiltration tool that corruption, manipulation, domination, all those things, fear uses to corrupt your own wisdom. So, think of it as a Trojan horse on a computer. It comes in, completely destroys your files, right? And makes a mess out of everything. And it takes you weeks, months, years sometimes to get it back. Sometimes you just throw it in the trash and you get something new. Right. So that's exactly how I see these infiltration-y kind of things working. And doubt is the tool that it uses. Again, the reason why you have to self-actualize right now. Like this, I don't think self-actualization is an option.
No.
No. Because when you're in a battle of consciousness, we're not talking about, well, here's how humans play out infiltration, right? Like they play it out in war scenarios.
Yes.
Like, capturing someone else. That it's the same theory, it's the same process, it's the same way that it works, right? We're in a battle of consciousness here. And we have to grow and expand. I mean, it's not even up for debate any longer. It's already been decided. We are growing and expanding consciousness, moving into a 13th dimensional type of consciousness, a more unified field, so that we don't have these extremes, opposites that we've been, because they're so harmful. Everything is so corrupt now on Earth, and it's so harmful that we're literally not just harming the human any longer, we're literally causing harm to souls. And when that takes place, a lot of light beings come and say, okay, we have to do this, right? We have to change the consciousness. And that's literally what this battle is for. It's a change the consciousness so that there's not as much corruption, manipulation, domination, control. And it's not so harmful to souls, because you can harm a human. We're not saying that you can't, because that's a free will of a human, but
yes,
you cannot harm a soul. That's not even in the play field. So that didn't sound very good. You can harm a human, but that's what humans do to each other, is they play this game of harm.
they do.
And that's what they've been doing for so long. And now it's beyond the human. It's into energies, frequencies, vibrations, your pattern, your soul pattern. When it gets to that level, like there has to be some sort of, what do I want to say, help that comes in that sort of points us in a different direction or shows us a different avenue. And that's literally what we're doing with our consciousness now, is moving it in a different pathway, in a different way.
And I think that there are so many ways that we can be infiltrated. It's very sneaky and very subtle. And that's why the vigilance is so important in being aware of your own energy and your own self, so that you know that something's off. And I would agree with you on the doubt piece. Doubt is my number one. Like if I do that, go into that, I can spiral. Oh boy. So it's really, I've learned it's very important. I'm not saying it's that I don't question things, because sometimes I do question. I say, is this mine? Is this not mine? But I'm going to my highest self, my soul self, to get that answer. I'm not going out here and asking the tree or I'm checking in with me.
Right.
And the infiltration piece is so subtle and can be so sneaky that without that heightened awareness, I'm not going to say we're doomed or anything. It's not bad. I don't believe in that. it's just that clear-cut knowing. That piece we talked about a couple weeks ago too, about how that piece of us is really coming on strong and on fire, knowing thyself, knowing. So when that little doubt thing pops in, you can just say, nope, I know. Might not be clear on all the how's, the way, the whys, the whatever, but I know this is my mission, this is my trajectory. I know.
Right. So where does doubt come from, right? Like we all have doubt. I mean, I'm not gonna I'm sure even the most amazing gurus have some sort of doubt somewhere along the way.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Unless they've never ever had a childhood wound, they have to, and I'm sure I can't imagine anyone, because we're human. So we live in the world of duality. So we have to have something, right? And so I see, when I'm doing this work, is I see the doubt coming from the wounds, from the receiving wounds in particular, which are love, enoughness, worthiness, trust, right? Those are the receiving, those are the things that block us from receiving all of the abundances of the universe.
Yep.
And so when those are blocked, there's doubt. It creates doubt. It creates, you doubting your own skills, your own wisdom, your own talent, your intuitive connection, your ability to self-master, your ability to self-actualize. It keeps you in those lower kinds of frequencies and vibrations of blame, shame, guilt, doubt, worry, all of those kinds of frequencies that perpetuate the doubt frequency. And when you're in that kind of a state, it's real simple to control and dominate and infiltrate you in anything. Like anybody can come along and corrupt you.
And that's a really good point, because it doesn't have to be on this great big spectrum that you're infiltrated. It can be just someone very dear to you that just says something that makes you go, huh? And raises the doubt. And it's what you do with that.
Yeah.
So it can sneak in so many ways.
Yeah. It can be you saying, I want cherry nut ice cream. And somebody comes along and says, ew, cherry nut. And it makes you change your mind, makes you doubt yourself. That's the simplest form.
True. Yes. It's so subtle, and it's so, and I'm not saying the person that comes in and says, ooh, really? They're not necessarily trying to change your mind, but it's that energy that follows that creates the doubt in you. That's the piece. And that's a perfect example. Yeah. Perfect example. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's always the unconscious, right? So if you're easily swayed by just everyday occurrences like that, can you imagine what happens when you're swayed on a bigger game-changing level? Like, who are you? Like, how do we shift consciousness, and what is the new earth? Like, I can imagine there's a lot of doubt out there about that, because we've not been able to experience it. We've never really been able to experience it. And so there has to be, I'm positive there's doubt about that. And there's probably a lot of people who are like, oh God, what are they talking about? But it's okay. You can have that doubt. It's going to happen no matter what. And you're either going to shift with it or you're not. Totally up to you. But I really want everyone to be highly aware of how this battle is actually playing out, and how many people are being infiltrated within their own journey of self-actualization. Because, well, honestly, if you're self-actualizing, your vibration is going to be so different, they're probably not even going to try to infiltrate you. At least that's what I found. If you are on the self-actualization new earth frequency, like there's nothing there. Those lower vibrational frequencies can't even understand the pattern of the frequency. And so the infiltration doesn't necessarily happen, but it's when we're trying to teach old tricks into spirituality, or teach old ways or pathways into spirituality, or opening people up to something different. And there's confusion and there's doubt and there's like, I don't know what's happening here. Like that kind of questioning, like you're just like floating around, not really making decisions. That is when that plague, like that's when you're stalked. That's when you're watched, because you can easily be swayed into something else. And people will do the swaying. Like it's not like, you know, there's an alien coming to Earth to sway you. They're already in human form. They're already probably some of your friends. They're already people that you know, some big, you know, the elitists right now of the world are really good at infiltrating consciousness right now. If you want to know who the big players are, it's the elitists, because they have a lot to lose. If consciousness does get changed, they have everything to lose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to ask a quick question and get your take on it, Angela. So as more souls, beings, spirits move into the new world and are accepting, acknowledging, and understanding that this is what's happening, is that piece of why we're seeing so many so many destructive things happening to others outside, because there are more moving into this new world energy, and so those that infiltrate are doing everything they can to prevent others from moving forward.
So when there's an infiltration that happens, you know, you sort of gather people. I mean, that's literally what they're doing, is they're gathering people, trying to convince them that their path is the right path. You know, it's like that whole religious component that says it's this way is the only way. You know, it's that take on anything and everything. It's that whole theory of it's this way. This is the only way into the new earth. And then it's not the new earth. But the only way that you can get into the new earth is by getting rid of all of your old stuff. Because these old tricks, I want to say these are tricks. These are literally beings out there who are tricking, using that trickster kind of energy of persuasion, tricking you of persuasion in order to pull you into something that's not of new earth. Now, new earth is literally you self-actualizing. I mean, that's the path into, it's the only path that I know of into new earth, is self-actualization. You being 100% the channel of who you are. And if you're being persuaded by something or someone else, then that's where the battle is residing, right? It's like the battle resides out there. Did that answer that question?
Kind of, but I think where I was going was, so I'm going to look at the fires in Maui. That's kind of where my brain was going. And for me, the media in Hawaii is telling people that, oh, that's climate change, yada, 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 this is that. So to me, the infiltration is the more people we can push into the climate change mode and show the example of what they're blaming something on. To me, that's an infiltration into keeping people very locked into that there's not something else happening. Is that just an accurate, or is that just kind of like me putting my own spin on it? I don't know.
No, I think we really have to be very discerning about these natural events
Right.
happening. Can a fire burn that hot as to some of the pictures that are coming out of Maui? You know, even a couple years ago when California was on fire.
Yes.
You know, some of those pictures, like those were not fire-oriented pictures. And so I think this is one of the infiltration tactics is,
Okay.
you know, like, and we have, this is where our discernment, our ability to question and to be logical, not emotionally
Yeah.
consumed, because that emotions are a really good way to infiltrate people because it's,
Mhm.
you know, so you have to have a balance of your emotion and you have to have a balance of your logic and say, and ask your questions of, well, what's really going on here? Is there something else besides just a extremely large hot fire? And I think that this is the way that we're being infiltrated. They're using fear, they're
Yes.
using natural disaster kind of or mindset, and they're using like programming,
Mhm.
right? Programming is an essential way to infiltrate consciousness. It's a huge way to keep you vibrationally attuned and aligned to whatever the agenda is.
Mhm.
And so I think that these are the things that they're going to start using more and more and more of, because I could see more of them happening towards the end of the year here. And they create a lot of fear. Nobody wants to have their stuff taken away from them, right? And you have to like you become, you know, disassociated and you become lost and you become very lonely in these kinds of giant experiences. What a better way to, you know, capture your consciousness than to make you in a very helpless position.
And I think you touched on another piece there with that emotional component, because those, not only the people directly involved with certain situations have their own emotions to deal with, but then when the outside people are looking in and their emotions are consumed in a way of, being distraught or being fearful or being whatever, that's that whole piece of infiltration that I see, or programming. It's just like, an understanding. Is there something I can do regarding a situation? And not become emotionally involved in something that has happened outside of me. Witness it, observe it, be very aware of what's going on, but not get sucked into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what takes us down that, okay, now we got them like this. And the more I can get, I don't know,
Well, I
the
think
more I
this
can
is
get
where,
these people.
yeah, it's where discernment comes in and the ability to know truth, like to know what's really true here. Is it due to climate changes? Maybe, but we don't have any actual proof, scientific proof that says it was. Is it due to the agenda of smart cities, right? That's been one theory that's been
Yep.
floating around, smart cities. Do we have proof of that? Well, we do have a little bit of proof of that because there are records of, you know,
There are
when
some.
meetings were held and, you know, there was a plan. So we do have some proof of that. You know, I think that this is where we need to be really asking questions and being very logical and actually asking questions that get to true information, not just, you know, hypotheticals and all this. But I think that some of these, you know, conspiracy theories are actually being played out. But we're programmed to say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. That's not real true. But yet some of them are actually coming true. And so, you know, being a fourth grader sitting back in the back row and just letting things happen should not be who we are. That is not a path to self-actualization. It's not a path to self-mastery. It's just you being lazy and not not, I don't know if it's not caring or if it's just like, I understand this space and time in the time continuum where you just don't give a crap anymore about what happens, and you're just like checked out and you just want to be like checked out. Like literally you don't care if you live or die. And it's this space that I think a good portion of humanity is in because they really don't know what's true. We don't have really good leaders in the world. We have people who are governments who are colluding with each other, trying to get their elitist agenda, done and out there and controlling you. And I don't think that we have enough people asking questions about what's real. We don't have enough people self-actualizing, and they're just following everybody else. We have a lot of fourth graders running around and no middle schoolers, high schoolers, or college level people.
Analogy, good analogy, yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand how it works. Like I don't understand how we can just sit back and say, oh well, it's the way humans are. It's the way it's always been. Like, what mentality is that? And where did that even come from? Well, it came from programming. I mean, that's the best answer of programming ever, is to get people to be dumb and ignorant. And that's what annoys me the most about humans, is that we just play dumb. And we don't mind playing dumb. We kind of even like it.
It's easy.
It's very easy.
Very easy to play dumb. Yes.
Yes.
So then you can just float, you don't have to be committed or advance your consciousness or any of those things.
Don't have to be passionate. You just sit back and flip the channel. Just a channel flipper.
That is something too that has always, I just, in a group of people will maybe strike up a conversation about something that I think is like worth discussing, and they just kind of look at you like, what does that have to do with anything? And I'm thinking, I don't care what the baseball score is. I mean, good for you that you enjoy that. And I want you to have fun and enjoy it, but how does that impact the world?
Right.
That's where I feel like, there's this new world, and then there's this one that just wants to keep everything status quo, and it's time, people.
Well, that's where you will be. If you're just in the status quo, you will be infiltrated. I mean, it's.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you look at vibrations and frequencies and how consciousness works, you just will be infiltrated. So I guess you get to decide if that's who you want to be, because it's going to happen. There's no doubt. There's no doubt on that one.
And if you're like that, you probably won't even care.
Yeah, you probably won't. But you got to look at something sooner or later. You're gonna have to look at something deeper. Yeah.
As you're always saying, there is a big picture. There is a big picture.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond what we typically normally see.
Yes, for sure. We're not just humans roaming like ants over the earth. That's just not the big picture. That's the minutia.
If you want to do that, go ahead, but I don't.
No.
It's not my big picture.
Yeah, no. There is a universe here that we are a part of, and we have to start acknowledging that we are in existence with and in the universe and beyond. And that is the shift in consciousness as well, or it's a big part of the shift, is moving into a bigger picture, because we can't stay this small tiny little earth orbiting around a sun and thinking that we can do this for billions and billions of years. We've already tried that. It's not working, and now we need to do something about it, and we're the only ones that can. So we are being infiltrated. it's, we are in a battle of consciousness. And I think that it's time to say, okay, well, what am I going to pick?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Renee, for being here.
Thank you.
Always so much fun to have these kinds
It
of deeper
is.
conversations.
More food for thought. Yes.
For sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we thank all the listeners for being here on the Blueprint podcast. And until next week, I hope you have an enjoyable week.
Thank you for being with us today. To find out more about Angela, visit her website at www.angelablaha.com.